Marco Gonzales and Mitch Haniger power the Mariners to a much-needed 3-1 win over the Guardians. Our thoughts and takes from the game coming up here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. It is Thursday, August 25th, 2022, and thank you so much for making us your first listen after the game. We are free and available on all platforms with new episodes dropping every Monday through Friday. I am your host, Ty Gonzales, joined as always by my co-host, Colby Patnode. We cover the Mariners over at InsideTheMariners.com for Fan Nation over on the Sports Illustrated Network. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at LO_Mariners. Follow Inside the Mariners at Inside Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzales, that's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. Be sure to also check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/Control the Zone. We post 2 additional podcasts on there every single week. Again, that is patreon.com/Control the Zone. And if this is your first time joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, welcome to the show. If you like what you hear, give us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. On the show today, we're going to dive into Marco Gonzales' big day on the bump, Will Benson intentionally kicking Ty France, and the success of Mitch Haniger, who was instrumental in the 3-1 win today since rejoining the ball club. Let's start with Marco here. 6 strong innings of work today, just 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run allowed in the first inning, 4 strikeouts, 31% of his pitches resulted in a called strike or whiff. He was big today. This was probably the best that you could get out of Marco at this point in the season. Colby, what did you see out of Marco today?
Yeah, it was pretty aggressive for Marco. You know, he threw 32 fastballs and 27 cutters. We haven't seen a ton of cutters from Marco this year, so that's something different. Usually we've seen a lot more sinkers this year from Marco, and he didn't register a single sinker at all today. So his fastball, cutter, changeup used pretty evenly, 32% fastball, 27% cutter, 25% changeup, even mixed in, 17 curveballs. It wasn't a super effective pitch for him. He got 9 swings and no whiffs on it, but he did get 2 called strikes and 4 foul balls off of that pitch. So, it was still a useful 4th pitch for him. Marco, this was probably as close to, after the first inning, at least, this is probably about as close to 2020 Marco as we've seen in a while. He was on the corners. He was in the strike zone with everything, which is great because then he was able to expand the strike zone against a team that, puts the ball in play a lot. They have a lot of really good athletes. They're fast. They don't strike out. So it's not an easy lineup to get through. Marco gets through 6 on 101 pitches, throws 70 strikes, actually gets 9 whiffs, including 5 whiffs on the changeup out of 12 swings. Also got 4 called strikes on that changeup. So 36% called strike or whiff rate on the changeup is pretty good. The big one, though, I think today, the difference was the 4-seam fastball. 14 swings, only 3 whiffs, but 13 called strikes. So when you add up the called strikes and the whiffs, 50%. 50% of the fastballs he threw had no damage come off of them, no balls put in play, and that's huge pitch for Marco. He was great. He was on the corners. Like you had mentioned, he kind of bulldogged his way through this lineup again. It was pretty close to vintage Marco. Still like to see a few more strikeouts. I think he finished with 4. But for what Marco is, this is about as good as you could have hoped for. And it was kind of a different Marco. So that's maybe something to keep an eye on. Again, a lot more 4-seamers, a lot fewer sinkers today. And we saw the cutter come to play, which is a pitch he kind of shelved recently. So we'll see what Marco does next time out. But for this outing, he was pretty darn good.
Yeah, some of the best stuff and the best command that we've seen out of Marco in quite some time. And like you said, he was able to expand the strike zone as this game went along. He was getting guys to even chase outside of the zone. That was really impressive to me. generating a lot of weak contact in this game. Not a ton of hard hit balls given up. And against this lineup, I mean, it's kind of easy to forget how good this Guardians lineup is. It's really good. I mean, you look at their lineup, particularly the 1 through 6 in that lineup is incredibly dangerous. To only limit this team to 1 run is an incredible achievement. And so, I mean, you needed Marco to be this today. You needed one of your leaders to be at his very best, and he hasn't been for quite some time, and you got that and then some today. I mean, it's pretty remarkable considering the situation, considering the circumstances around this game, and coming off of a very disappointing loss yesterday, coming off of a 2-3 stretch against the 2 worst teams in baseball. You needed to get off on the right foot in this series. This is a huge, crucial 4-game set with the Guardians, and you had to get off on the right foot here in this series. And I mean, they needed every bit of what Marco and the bullpen gave them today, because the offense still struggled a lot, right? They get the 3-run homer from Haniger, and then after that they only record 2 more hits for the rest of the day against Tristan McKenzie and the Guardians bullpen. So the Mariners needed this performance. This was perfect. This was perfect timing. This was everything. This was, I mean, it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, I mean, the offense was, as you said, it wasn't very good. All the damage came in the first 3 hitters of the game. They had a little bit of a threat there in the 8th. Couldn't figure that out. But at least this time around, this one felt more like it was just that Tristan McKenzie was pretty good. Not that the offense was terrible today. McKenzie's got a really good shot to be pitcher of the month in the American League for August. And the Mariners, they were okay against him. They, only 8 whiffs. I believe they struck out only 4 times. He didn't have a called strike and whiff rate of over 25% on any of his 3 pitches. They were they were putting the ball in play. They had 18 foul balls off of him. So it's one of those things where McKenzie was really good, but the Mariners put up some pretty good at-bats. He got into a little bit of a rhythm after the 2nd or 3rd inning, which kind of, threw the Mariners off their pace a little bit. But for the most part, they were having relatively good at-bats. There weren't a ton of chases or anything like that. Tristan McKenzie's just, on a roll right now, and thankfully the Mariners were able to tag him before he figured it out. And that's kind of how you have to win in the playoffs, because you're not going to string hits together in multiple innings against, the Garrett Coles or the Justin Verlanders of the world. When they struggle, you have to take advantage. You have to get the big hit. And Mitch did. So it definitely felt like a playoff game today. Maybe not with the crowd, pretty sparse crowd. Today, I believe, was the first day of school in the Seattle area for a lot of people. But yeah, pretty sparse crowd, back-to-back day games, whatever. I'm not worried about the crowd size. It's going to be there this weekend. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But there was intensity. There was good starting pitching. There was good bullpen. Every single hit seemed like a big one. It could change the game. It was very much a playoff atmosphere, and I think the Mariners and Cleveland are 2 teams that match up pretty well against one another. So I expect this to be a really hard fought, 7 games or 6 games now that they'll play each other over the next 10 days or so. I think if we get this rematch in the wild card round, I like the Mariners' chances, but it's not going to be easy. This Cleveland team can pitch, and they put the ball in play. They are extremely pesky, and then of course they kind of have Naylor and Ramirez to provide the big power, which is terrifying in the 8th inning. Thankfully, you have Andres Munoz.
Yeah, when Jose Ramirez stepped to the plate with 2 on, 2 out.
This is not ideal.
Yeah, let's just say I was feeling a little nervous about that when that happened. But fortunately, Andres Munoz's slider is breaking the scale right now. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, and it's gotten him out of a lot of tight spots. He's one of the best relievers in baseball, man, and he just keeps on dominating. It's so fun to watch Andres Munoz pitch right now.
13 swings on the slider.
Yeah,
7 whiffs. Here's Andres Munoz did not have a single called strike today.
Wow.
Through 17 pitches, got 7 whiffs, 9 foul balls, only 1 ball put in play.
He's something, man. He's a lot of fun to watch.
You go up there and hack like Cleveland did today, or you go up there and take pitches. It doesn't really matter. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
it's over
So
for you.
Cleveland plays, good defense. It puts the ball in play. It pitches
They
well,
pitch.
but so do the Mariners. And defensively speaking, it was a nice day for the Mariners as well. J.P. Crawford, of course, with that really nice scoop and diving toss out of his glove
Yeah.
for the out
Even,
on at first to get Josh Naylor.
Yeah, even the ball that Suarez got at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Playing out of position, kind of a tricky hop, having to throw across his body a little bit. Got enough on the throw. And Jake Lamb with his biggest contribution of the year, catching that ball. Ooh, he's no Jake Bowers, but he's getting there, guys. He's pretty good. So
he's got big Logan Morrison vibes, man. That's what he gives me, particularly at the plate. He looks like he's swinging a sledgehammer up there.
Like if he ever barrels something up, oh my God, it's going to go 420 feet. But yeah, we'll see.
Unfortunately, the Mariners today lost Ty France again, this time to a bruised right calf. We'll be talking about that and the injury that, or the play that unfortunately led to him leaving this game. It was pretty questionable. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, a message from the NHTSA. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. And as the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. But nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up. You lose your license, you lose your job, you tow your car. What if you kill someone? Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen after the game. So Ty France had to leave this game pretty early on with a bruised right calf. That is the diagnosis after a couple of plays at first base. In the first inning, the play that ended up scoring the Guardians' lone run of the game, it was a possible double play ball. Unfortunately, J.P. Crawford's throw went a little high and forced France into the air, and his legs and Jose Ramirez's legs kind of got tangled up there, and that's potentially how he suffered the bruised calf. Then later on in the game, Will Benson, Guardians center fielder, runs down to first on another ground ball to J.P. Crawford, throw to first, and Benson pretty clearly appears to wind up a kick with his left leg and hits the left ankle of Ty France pretty hard, and France eventually had to leave the game after that. Colby, after seeing it more and more, because at first I thought, it's a bang bang play, stuff happens at first, but after watching this play more, it to me very clearly looks like Will Benson, with the knowledge of France hurting his leg on the Ramirez play, was trying to hurt France even further.
Yeah, he Cobra Kai'd him. He swept the leg. It's literally the left leg goes from straight to out to the side to, he kind of curves it. Like it literally looks like he's lining up for a point after, or a corner kick. And so it's clearly intentional. There's no way around it. It's one of those things where you'd like to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but when you watch it over and over again, you can see there's clearly intent there that he was trying to hit France's leg, because France wasn't standing on top of the bag or anything like that. Play wasn't super close. Like it wasn't like he was just running wildly trying to beat out the throw. He was going to be out, and yet the leg still has a half circle motion and ends up right to the spot where France had, banged his leg against Jose Ramirez's leg. For what it's worth, Ty France, and I'm just reading a quote here. I don't know how this was said, but Ty's quote doesn't seem to me that he believes that was an accident. Ty France says, I felt like I gave him a majority of the bag, and then that happened, and then he left it at that. So, and he did. He gave him the whole bag. There was no reason for him to swing his leg like that, and he did. It was clearly intentional. There's no way around it. We'll see if the Mariners want to retaliate. They didn't today. It was a close game. Makes sense to maybe wait, but we'll see what happens. If Benson's in the lineup tomorrow, I don't know. Miles Straw might be back, so Benson might be on the bench. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the Mariners choose to retaliate. It's a dirty play. There's no way around it. Completely unnecessary. And it's one of those things where there's just really no justification of it. Like Jose Ramirez, fine, whatever. You could argue that he maybe ran towards the inside part of the bag instead of the outside part of the bag. Whatever. He started out on the grass. He was peeling back, and he just didn't get over fast enough. This one was clearly intentional. He saw a hobble player. He took his leg, and he swung it at Ty France's leg in an attempt to injure him. And he succeeded, and yet it didn't make a lick of difference. So it's a dirty play, and in my mind, Will Benson's a dirty player. It's so far as I know, the Mariners have not addressed it in any other way, and the Guardians have not addressed it either. So we'll see if anything comes of it. But tomorrow's maybe a game to watch now, more so than it already was, because that's a dirty play, and the Mariners, that's not one that's going to settle well with that clubhouse after they look at it, after everybody gets a good look at it.
Yeah, no, it's despicable. It's an absolute reprehensible act by Will Benson, who, like you said, to me is a dirty player. That was a dirty play. That's just uncalled for. Because you have the knowledge there. Like, it's very clear. I mean, it was just an inning beforehand that France got hurt. And he was on the ground in pain after that play with Ramirez as well. There was visible evidence that France was in some pain, and France is already dealing with some pain, of course, in his left arm with the elbow injury and also the wrist injury. And this, and that's why this sucks even more, because France has already been dreadful at the plate because of the injuries and coming off of the injuries, and he's also probably pressing at this point because it's getting really frustrating for him. And now on top of that, now he's got a lower leg injury as well. So that's just, this sucks for him. We'll see how long it keeps him out. Fortunately, it's only a bruise, so you would figure that's not going to keep him out for very long if it does at all. And fortunate that it wasn't any sort of ligament damage or anything like that, especially on the kick to the ankle, because you worry about like an Achilles there. You worry about a lot of stuff there. That's just a disgusting act by Will Benson, considering the risks of that. Because, I mean, cleat goes the wrong way or something, and Ty France, snaps his Achilles and he's out for the year, like, and possibly, time next year as well. That's not cool.
It was a play with the intent to hurt. Not to bruise somebody. It was a play with an attempt to knock somebody out of a game and possibly for a series. Like I said, thankfully it's a bruise. We'll see how the swelling goes. Wouldn't be shocked if he was DHing tomorrow. Probably not going to play first base the rest of this week. There were some early murmurs that Evan White wasn't in the AAA lineup. That was never going to happen. No, they would play Santana. Yeah, they would play Santana and Lamb at first, and they would call up Trammell.
Dylan Moore could also play some first. They're good. Yeah,
that's Evan White will not take an at bat for the Seattle Mariners this year, and if they do, I will send an autograph card to somebody. So it's not going to happen. I didn't say it was a good one, but I'll do it. That's not the case. It doesn't sound like the IL is a thing for him right now. We'll see if he plays tomorrow. But I would imagine he gets back in the game at DH at some point today. Also sounds like there's a decent chance Sam Haggerty returns tomorrow. We saw him pinch run for, I think, the fourth straight day. So, I mean, you can't backdate the IL stint. So hopefully he can play tomorrow, because I've seen just about enough of Jesse Winker in left field. I know the ball I'm talking about today, where he kind of like came in, stopped for a second, and then, oh no, I can keep going, and he barely caught it. Yeah. I don't need to see that anymore. No.
That gave me a little bit of a heart
attack there. He's going to let that drop, isn't he?
Yeah. My heart kind of dropped into the pit of my stomach when I saw that. Yeah. No, because there was a runner on, I think, at that time too, and I was just
was Brash. Brash had just walked the first guy or whatever.
By the way, the decision to put Brash in a 2-run game in the 8th.
Like, was Castillo not available? Like, I assume Sewald wasn't available. Back-to-back days, he's been pretty bad. Munoz, I think this was his third day in a row, so he's not going to pitch tomorrow. But like I saw Castillo in there, like throwing the ball around a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, Castillo in the eighth, and Munoz when you get to Ramirez.
Yeah.
And nope, went with Brash. Nope. I was like, not even Festa.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I just like Brash. I thought good, maybe Festa would. But...
Yeah, I thought maybe Festa would be the play there. Yeah, that was fortunately that did not hurt the Mariners in any sort of way, though Brash wasn't able to finish his outing. Yeah.
It just like Brash makes sense when you really need a strikeout. Like any ball put in play is bad news for you. You give him a clean inning. I kind of need a guy who throws strikes. So
yeah, I think he went into 3 full counts.
Yeah, he walked the first guy and then he went 3-1, I think, to the next hitter before he got him to pop up. So yeah, I mean, like I like Brash. He's been pretty good, but I didn't like that usage.
Yeah,
to be quite honest with you.
Weird decision.
I was like, and then they kept him in there to face Rosario too. Was it Rosario or was it who was it that's sitting ahead of Ramirez?
Well, there's Quan, there's Rosario. Yeah, and then
like Quan, Jose. He has to face because he's got to face the 3. Okay, fine. Rosario, I'm like, like I don't want Jose Ramirez to get up with a chance to tie or take the lead. Yeah. So the Rosario thing seemed very important to get him out, and Scott's just like, nah.
Hey, at least Scott took him out before Jose. At least he didn't let him face Jose.
That's true, but still, I was like,
yeah,
one batter sooner there, Scott.
Yeah,
it worked out. It worked out.
That was scary hours for sure.
Shout out to Eric Swanson, by the way, who quietly had a very clean 7th to kind of bridge the gap to Munoz there.
MLB good pitching leader in ERA. Yes. Eric Swanson.
I don't even think he's been that good since he come back from the injury. He's just been like, yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
And still sub 1 ERA. Cool. Let's let it ride. Let it ride.
Let's ride. All right. So
no.
We mentioned earlier the offensive struggles again today, and of course, as you mentioned, Tristan McKenzie was really good today as well. So you just you also have to tip your cap there. But again, only 4 hits in this game. 2 of them coming from Mitch Haniger. One of them a big 3-run home run. Another opposite field single in the bottom of the 8th. Which, look, this is your big complaint about Mitch last year was he's selling out for power. He's I agreed with it too. All right. Both of us.
You're not going to throw me under the bus here, buddy.
Both of us were complaining about Mitch and how he's kind of changed his approach at the plate as of late. Coming off of the injury last year, seemed like he was selling out for power. There was a lot more swing and miss in his that was evident in his game. He was hitting a lot more home runs, but there was a lot more just as I said, swing and miss. But now, since he's come back from the last injury, from the ankle sprain on August 6th, it seems like he's using the field more. He's taking pitches, and he's not trying to do just an incredible amount of damage, and he's just letting the home runs come to him. And that's, that's happening naturally. We see, 3-run home run today, and also a big opposite field single that set up another scoring opportunity for the Mariners in this game in the bottom of the 8th. And since, entering this game, since coming back on August 6th, he was hitting 302, 371, 460 with a 143 WRC plus, and of course added 2 more hits today, so that's only going to go up. I mean, what are you seeing out of Mitch? Does he look different as he looks to me?
It's tough to say because it's such a small sample, but
because I feel like I'm seeing more, like it's not fully the old Mitch, right? I don't think we're ever going to see the old Mitch, whatever the old Mitch is. But like
the old Mitch,
yeah. But like I think we're seeing that something that's closer to that, right? A bit more of a patient hitter, and again, letting the power just kind of come naturally.
Right. It's more of a blend between what we saw last year and what we saw when Mitch was like, 370 on base guy. So yeah, we're starting to see it. There's still some swing and miss. He's still susceptible, specifically to changeups, which McKenzie doesn't have. So worked out well. But yeah, no, he's hitting the ball a little bit more. He's working counts a little bit more. Doesn't look like he's trying to hit everything off the foul pole. Even the home run was to left center field. It wasn't dead left field. So yeah, he's starting to stay in the middle of the field a little bit. Both hits, in the middle third of the field today. And you saw the power. He doesn't have to sell out to hit home runs. He's got plenty of power. And I guess what I'd like to see from Mitch going forward now, a few more doubles would be nice. I'll take the home runs. I'd rather have home runs than doubles, but doubles feel a little more repeatable to me than the home runs do. So yeah, he's been great since he's come back. The Mariners have needed him because the offense, like 13 runs in the last 5 games. Just imagine what they'd be without Mitch, who has at least 5 RBI on 2 home runs in those 5 games. So yeah, they need him. And he seems to be playing a pretty decent right field too. He looks a little more spry out there, maybe. Still not great, but
yeah,
better. And when you're comparing him to
And
Winker over in left field, he's Ichiro in his prime. So,
and of
I'll
course
take
the
it.
arm is still really good, of course,
Yep.
too, and that's the one big thing with his defense that is going to keep him in the field somewhat, at least in the near future. As long as that, Mitch kind of reminds me of where Mitch is now in his career. Kind of reminds me of Jose Bautista. And in some of those later years in Toronto, obviously not as, he's not a perennial all-star like Jose Bautista was during those years in Toronto, but, he's a guy that, he's not the most athletic dude, but he does have like one really big tool defensively with the arm. And on top of that, he cranks stingers, he gets on base, and that's the thing that's what I want out of Mitch Haniger. That's what I want out of this version of Mitch Haniger, is someone that is at least fairly reliable in the field and get on base a ton. Takes pitches, takes walks, and uses the whole field, takes what the defense gives him, and lets the power naturally come to him. And we're seeing that right now, and that's huge. And really, this just makes me want the Mariners to re-sign him even more so now for when we get into the off season, because this version of Mitch Haniger, what we're seeing right now, he helps a lot.
Yeah. Right now, after today, he is hitting 275, 327, 500. It's a 139 WRC plus. Here's probably the best news of so far. And again, it's only 110 plate appearances, and they're the definition of scattered plate appearances.
Sure. Yeah.
But 21.8% strikeout rate so far this year.
Really good.
That's below league average in a good way. And you look at where 2019 he was at 28.6. Last year he was at 24.5. So 24.5 is about 2% above league average. This year he's 1% below league average, again in the positive way. The only thing really waiting for, I would like to see the walks get closer to 10%. But like I said, we're in an era right now offensively where league average on base is like 310 and Mitch is at 317, or 327. So you take what you can get there, and the power is great, and the contact is great, and he looks very good. He looks healthy, and it's personally, it's hard for me to imagine that he's wearing a different uniform next year. It just seems like the Mariners and Mitch are headed for really an inevitable marriage, even if it is only a 1-year commitment.
For sure. And last year, of course he didn't post the highest strikeout rate of his career, but the whiff rate was the highest of his career by a long shot too. It was 13% last year.
He's taking more chances last year.
Yeah, taking more chances last year. Yeah, 13.1% whiff rate. Before that, his career high was 10.9%. He's gotten that down to 10% flat this year. So that's a really big key for Mitch right now.
Right. It looks like he's reacting more than guessing.
He's also swinging outside of the zone just 29.4% of the time this year. Last year was 33% of the time. So
yeah, we'll see if he can keep it up for the rest of the year. But it does look like Mitch is maybe recognizing spin a little bit better this year. So he's not out there, or maybe he trusts his bat speed a little bit more this year, because last year I remember him being very susceptible to changeups, and he was constantly trying to gear up to hit the fastball. This year it looks like he's reacting again instead of guessing. randomly. So we'll see. You know, you can be fooled in a small sample size, but so far so good. Mitch has been exactly what the Mariners need. Just he needed a little more help is all.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for our show. So nice to actually talk about a win today instead of that depressing episode we recorded yesterday. Much prefer this over that. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzales. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow Inside the Mariners at Inside Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzales, CANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11 at CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen after the game. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.